Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that resonates with so many of us. It's not about being rude or abandoning kindness. It's about finding that delicate balance between being kind and being too nice. As we step into 2025, it's time to embrace a stronger, healthier version of ourselves. One that doesn't allow too nice to overshadow our worth, our boundaries, and our aspirations. Being nice is a beautiful quality. It shows you have empathy, compassion, and a genuine care for others. But when nice becomes a shield that you use to avoid conflict or please everyone, it can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and even losing sight of who you are. The world doesn't need you to be a doormat. It needs you to show up with authenticity, courage, and self-respect. There's a beauty in kindness. It shows the depth of your heart, the compassion you carry for others, and the love you bring into the world. But sometimes, in our effort to be kind, we cross a line we don't even realize exists. That line is the one between kindness and being too nice, where we give so much of ourselves that there's little left to hold on to. It's not wrong to care, but it's important to recognize when caring for others is coming at the expense of caring for yourself. When you're too nice, it's easy to fall into patterns of saying yes to things that don't align with your heart. Maybe someone asks for a favor, and even though you're overwhelmed, you agree because you don't want to disappoint. Or perhaps you stay silent in a conversation, going along with something you don't agree with just to avoid conflict. These moments may feel small, but over time they build into a habit of self-neglect. The truth is, being too nice often comes from a place of fear. Fear of being judged, fear of letting someone down, fear of losing a relationship or being seen as difficult. But let me tell you something. The relationships that matter, the ones that truly belong in your life, are not built on how much you give or how agreeable you are. They're built on mutual respect, understanding, and the freedom to be your authentic self. Think about the way you treat others. You go out of your way to listen to their needs, to respect their feelings, and to honor their boundaries. Now imagine turning that same level of care inward. What would it look like to listen to your own needs, to honor your feelings, and to set boundaries that protect your peace? It's not selfish to do this. It's necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving without replenishing, you'll find yourself depleted, both emotionally and physically. There's power in recognizing that kindness doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being. True kindness comes from a place of strength, not weakness. It's the ability to give from a full heart, not an exhausted one. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others is to say no. Saying no doesn't make you unkind, it makes you intentional. It means you value your time and energy and you're choosing to invest them wisely. When you stop being too nice, you'll find that your relationships grow stronger, not weaker. The people who care about you will respect your boundaries, and the ones who don't, well, maybe it's time to reconsider their place in your life. This is your time to step into balance. You can be kind and still say no. You can care for others and still care for yourself. And when you do, you'll find that life becomes richer, fuller, and more aligned with the person you were always meant to be. Setting healthy boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to take care of yourself while still showing up for others. When you establish boundaries, you're not pushing people away, you're creating the space for healthier, more respectful relationships. But often people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear rejection, conflict, or being perceived as selfish. The truth is, boundaries are not about shutting others out. They're about letting the right things in. When When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially telling the world that your time, energy, and emotional well-being are available to anyone at any moment. You might find yourself constantly saying yes when you want to say no. You might agree to commitments that leave you stretched thin, exhausted, and resentful. Over time, this leads to burnout, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And when you're running on empty, you can't give your best to the people and things that matter most. Boundaries are a form of love and respect for yourself and for others. They communicate that you value your own needs while still caring about the needs of those around you. They say, I honor my time and energy, and I want to give you the best version of me, not a depleted one. When you set boundaries, you're teaching others how to treat you. You're showing them that your kindness has structure, that your generosity has balance, and that your love comes with self-respect. It might feel uncomfortable at first. You might worry about how people will react, especially if you've been the type to always say yes in the past. But here's the thing. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They'll appreciate your honesty and understand that you're taking care of yourself so you can be present for them in a healthier way. And those who push back, they might not have your best interests at heart to begin with. Boundaries also create room for clarity. When you're not bogged down by obligations that drain you, you can focus on what truly matters. You have the energy to invest in meaningful relationships, pursue your goals, and live with purpose. Your time becomes more intentional, and your life aligns with the values that are most important to you. Imagine a life where you no longer feel guilty for prioritizing your well-being, where you can say no without hesitation, knowing it's the best decision for you, where your relationships thrive because they're built on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice. That's the life healthy boundaries create. So don't be afraid to draw those lines. They're not walls, they're bridges to a better version of yourself. They're a declaration that you matter, that your needs are valid, and that you deserve relationships that uplift and honor you. Boundaries are not a barrier to love. They're a pathway to deeper connection, both with others and with yourself. There comes a time in life when you have to recognize that your worth is not defined by how much you can do for others or how often you bend over backward to meet their expectations. Too often people equate being nice with being selfless, accommodating, or agreeable at all costs. But the truth is, constantly putting others ahead of yourself doesn't just diminish your energy, it diminishes your value in their eyes. True respect comes not from how much you give, but from how much you value yourself while giving. When you're overly nice, people can start to take your kindness for granted. It's not that they're necessarily bad people. It's human nature to accept what's freely given without questioning the cost to the giver. If you always say yes when you mean no, or if you constantly prioritize others' needs over your own, it sends a silent message. My needs don't matter as much as yours. And over time, people start believing that. They stop asking if you're okay with their request or if you need help in return. They grow comfortable with a one-sided dynamic where you give and they take. But respect, real respect, isn't born from endless sacrifices. It's born from balance. When you stand firm in your values and expectations, people see that you honor yourself. They see that your time, your energy, and your boundaries are precious. And ironically, when you start valuing yourself, others value you more. They begin to approach you with greater consideration and appreciation because they understand that your yes is not automatic but intentional. It's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing that you have a finite amount of energy, time, and resources to give. If you're always pouring into others without taking time to refill your own cup, you're doing no one any favors. An empty vessel can't give. When you start setting limits and advocating for yourself, you're not only protecting your well-being, but also ensuring that what you give to others is genuine, wholehearted, and sustainable. There's something incredibly powerful about a person who knows their worth. They don't need to shout it from the rooftops or demand it from others. Their actions speak for them. When they say no, it's firm yet kind. When they offer help, it's given freely, not out of guilt or obligation. People respect someone who respects themselves. And that respect is the foundation for healthy, meaningful relationships. Relationships built not on one person constantly giving, but on mutual appreciation and care. Step into this power. Understand that being kind doesn't mean being a pushover. It means being strong enough to know when to give and when to hold back. It means teaching others to value you by valuing yourself first. And as you do, you'll find that respect follows naturally. People will admire your strength and integrity. They'll learn to appreciate not just what you do for them, but who you are. And in that, you'll discover the freedom and fulfillment you've been seeking. Sometimes in life, we find ourselves bending over backward to accommodate others, even at the expense of our own needs and peace. It's easy to believe that being nice means avoiding conflict, agreeing with everyone, and constantly putting others first. But the truth is, when you sacrifice your authenticity for the sake of pleasing others, you lose a piece of yourself. People may like the version of you that always agrees, but deep down you'll feel the weight of living out of alignment with who you really are. There's a strength in being true to yourself, even when it means standing alone. When you embrace your authentic self, you no longer feel the pressure to conform to others' expectations. You realize that your voice matters, that your opinions and feelings have value. It's not about being difficult or confrontational. It's about having the courage to honor your truth, even when it's not convenient or popular. People might not always like it when you stop agreeing with everything they say, but in time, they'll come to respect the real you. When you stop over-pleasing, you'll notice a shift in your relationships. Some people may not understand the change at first, especially if they've grown accustomed to you always saying yes. But the relationships that are meant to last, the ones built on mutual respect and understanding, will grow stronger. Those who genuinely care for you will appreciate your honesty and the clarity you bring when you're authentic. And the ones who drift away, perhaps their place in your life was meant to be temporary. Being true to yourself doesn't mean you stop caring for others. It means you care from a place of wholeness. When you set boundaries and live authentically, you're not just protecting your peace. You're also creating space for deeper, more meaningful connections. You're saying to the world, this is who I am, and I invite you to meet me here. It's an act of love, not just for yourself, but for everyone in your life. Your authenticity is your greatest gift. It's what sets you apart, what makes you unique. When you let go of the need to please everyone, you unlock a freedom that allows you to live fully and unapologetically. You discover that life is not about fitting into someone else's mold, but about embracing the person you were created to be. Let go of the fear of rejection or disapproval. Trust that when you show up as your authentic self, the right people will be drawn to you and the wrong ones will fade away. Remember, you weren't made to blend in. You were made to shine. And when you live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. That's where true connection happens. And that's where you'll find the peace and fulfillment you've been searching for all along. Life has a way of teaching us that not everyone will appreciate our kindness. There are people who see generosity as an invitation to take advantage, mistaking softness for weakness. While being kind is a beautiful quality, it's important to understand that kindness without boundaries can lead to burnout, resentment, and even feelings of being unappreciated. It's not about changing who you are. It's about recognizing when to draw the line, when to say enough, and when to put yourself first. You see, life isn't meant to be lived under constant pressure to meet everyone else's expectations. When you spend your time giving and giving without receiving respect in return, you're left feeling drained. And it's not because your heart isn't big enough. It's because you've allowed people to access parts of you that were meant to be protected. You have to understand that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time, energy, or kindness. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're being selfish or unkind. It means you're valuing yourself enough to say, this is what I can give and no more. People who truly respect you will understand and honor those boundaries. They'll see that you're not shutting them out. You're simply preserving the parts of yourself that need nurturing. On the other hand, those who push back against your limits may not have been in your life for the right reasons, and that's okay. Letting go of relationships that no longer serve you creates space for ones that do. And there's a freedom that comes with knowing your worth. When you start valuing yourself, you stop seeking validation from those who don't have your best interests at heart. You begin to realize that your kindness is a gift, not a given. It's something you offer freely, but it's not something to be taken for granted. And when you protect your energy, you can give from a place of abundance rather than depletion. It's not about being less kind. It's about being wisely kind. It's about understanding that while you're called to love and care for others, you're also called to care for yourself. When you're constantly pouring out without replenishing, you're running on empty. But when you establish boundaries, you're able to give with joy, not obligation. You're able to serve from a place of strength, not exhaustion. So don't be afraid to say no when you need to. Don't be afraid to prioritize your peace, your happiness, your well-being. The people who genuinely care for you will respect that, and those who don't were never meant to stay. Remember, you can be kind and strong. You can love others while still loving yourself. And when you find that balance, you'll discover a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and fulfillment that no one can take away from you. Life has a way of testing us, especially when it comes to how we handle conflict. For many of us, avoiding confrontation feels easier. We stay quiet when something bothers us, hoping the situation will resolve on its own. We tell ourselves it's better to keep the peace than to rock the boat. But the truth is, avoiding conflict isn't the same as solving it. Over time, unspoken frustrations pile up, and unresolved issues begin to weigh on our hearts. There's so many. What started as a small compromise turns into resentment, and eventually the peace we were trying to preserve becomes a heavy burden. It's important to understand that speaking up doesn't make you unkind or difficult. It makes you honest. When you express your feelings, you're giving others the opportunity to understand you better. You're inviting clarity into your relationships, and clarity is a gift. Without it, misunderstandings can grow, and people may not even realize the ways in which they've hurt you. By addressing issues head on, you create an environment where trust and respect can flourish. Speaking up doesn't mean being harsh or combative. It's not about pointing fingers or placing blame. It's about having the courage to say, this is how I feel, and I need us to address it. When you approach conflict with a calm heart and a willingness to listen, you create the space for healthy communication. And yes, it takes courage to have these conversations. It takes strength to be vulnerable. But in the end, the relationships that matter will grow stronger because of it. People fear that addressing conflict will damage their relationships. But the reality is, avoiding conflict does far more harm. It creates distance where there should be connection. It builds walls where there should be bridges. The The relationships worth keeping are the ones that can withstand honest conversations. They're the ones where both people are willing to put in the effort to understand and support each other. There's also something powerful that happens within you when you stop avoiding conflict. You begin to recognize your own strength. You realize that your voice matters, your feelings are valid, and your peace is worth protecting. You stop letting fear dictate your actions and start living with confidence and integrity. This doesn't just change your relationships, it changes your entire outlook on life. When you stop avoiding conflict, you also start attracting healthier relationships. The people who value honesty and mutual respect will stay, and the ones who can't handle your truth will fade away. This isn't a loss, it's a blessing. Surrounding yourself with people who truly care for you and are willing to grow with you creates a life filled with genuine connection and love. So don't be afraid to have the tough conversations. Don't shy away from expressing your truth. Remember, avoiding conflict may feel easier in the moment, but addressing it leads to lasting peace. And in that peace, you'll find a deeper, stronger, and more fulfilling way to live. When it comes to the journey of life, learning to balance kindness with self-respect is key. Being too nice may feel like the easier path, but it often leads to compromise at the expense of your own well-being. True kindness isn't about sacrificing yourself to keep others happy. It's about showing love and respect to others while holding space for your own needs, boundaries, and dreams. As you move forward, remember that your voice matters. Your feelings and priorities are just as important as anyone else's. Standing up for yourself doesn't make you unkind, it makes you authentic. And when you live authentically, you create space for deeper, healthier relationships and a more fulfilling life. Life rewards those who balance compassion with strength, generosity with wisdom, and understanding with courage. Embrace your worth, honor your boundaries, and watch how the world begins to meet you at your level of confidence and clarity. When you stop being too nice, you give yourself the gift of living fully and unapologetically, and that is the foundation of true success and happiness.